Morals and ethics. In ordinary conversation, the two terms are almost interchangeable. To say that some behavior is unethical is the same as to say that that behavior is immoral, and so on. But philosophically, morals and ethics can mean quite different things. Morals include all of the socially established expectations we have for one another's behavior. Moral codes, whether tacit or implicit. Moral codes allow us to coordinate and cooperate in society, to live with one another in large groups. Without moral codes, you couldn't have a society at all. You have to know at the bare minimum what to normally expect from your neighbors and co-workers. And so, in a very important sense, all morality is a shared morality. The idea of a completely private moral code is often or almost an oxymoron, since it defeats the purpose of having a moral code. It's a lot like, or analogous to, the idea of a private language. If the function of language is to communicate, then a completely idiosyncratic private language with its unique vocabulary and unique grammar would fail the basic function of what a language is. It could hardly be called a language then. And likewise, a code of behavior that was not shared, that was not such that others understood it, would not be a moral code, whatever it was. Right? If moral codes are not completely relative to the individual, it might be thought more reasonable to suppose that moral codes are relative, completely relative, to individual cultures. After all, different societies do have different agreements about what is appropriate and inappropriate behavior. But this claim is often taken to an extreme, where it might be supposed that the moral values of one society were completely incommensurable with the values of another, where we couldn't have any overall shared value. And this is an exaggeration. There are some basic parameters, maybe even game theoretic, mathematical parameters that would apply to any cooperative sentient species. Every society has to have, for example, some kind of prohibition or regulation on random homicide, or you couldn't have a society at all. Another example might be there has to be some kind of regulations about child rearing that apply in a society. Before ethics comes on the scene, for thousands and thousands of years, morality and moral codes are enshrined in law and myth, in mythical narratives about the origins and grounds and the authority of law. And then philosophical reflection occurs. And philosophy takes this already existing phenomenon of morality and starts to critically examine it, to ask for definitions of justice and virtue, of right and wrong, and to see if they can rationalize or understand rationally the moral institutions that existed before philosophy ever came on the scene. Modern ethics is divided into normative ethics, which includes the formulation of principles and theories that explain right and wrong and attempt to give us direction and decision procedures for what to do. Okay. Applied ethics, which takes the general principles and theories of normative ethics and applies them to specific situations like professional ethics, lawyers' ethics, and so on, environmental ethics. And then a third branch of ethics, meta-ethics, looks at the whole activity of ethical discourse and tries to understand what makes moral statements true. Do moral statements have logical entailments, and so on.